Hey there, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Local Influencers Podcast. I'm your host, Abel, and today I am joined by author of Poise Under Pressure, Eric Rodriguez.
How's it going, everyone?
Eric, thank you so much for joining me, man. I'm excited to get into some of your background. You have a very interesting background, to say the least. A very
Thank you.
interesting story from what I've read and for what I have, kind of just discovered. So I'm excited to share that with the listeners today. So let's just kind of get right into it, man. So you actually wrote this book after, I think in the synopsis of the book, it was like a 3-year journey kind of type of thing.
Right.
All of the things we're going to talk about today, keep in mind, everyone, he has accomplished and done while also being a single father. And so it's a lot, man. And so kudos to you before the listeners even know what we're about to talk about. So
thank you.
All right, man. So Poise Under Pressure, before we get into the nitty gritty of what we're going to, the details, how did you come up with the name for that book? What inspired you for the name?
Well, it's pretty interesting. It came out twice. So once was a long time ago when I was in high school in baseball. We used to have these shirts, our I think they're called like our batting practice shirts. And it would always say Poise Under Pressure. And we'd always ask, what does that mean? And our coach would tell us, it's about keeping your composure, the right state of mind, staying on focus, staying on task, even when the pressure's on, and you're able to perform still and execute. And that kind of like stuck with me ever since then. I never knew when I would use that phrase again. It just kind of happened until I got involved in politics. And of course, you got to have some sort of composure, when you're in these debates and these interviews and, whatnot, even when you're under just under the limelight in general. So this kind of felt like a perfect title for me to tell my story.
Awesome. So I'm also interested because I see that you independently published it.
Right.
I myself am a self-published author. I have fantasy books that I've done, so I know the work alone. Writing a book is hard, but then people don't realize like writing a book, it doesn't stop there. People don't realize that, right? Like you have to then like
it's a never-ending job, man.
Yeah, definitely. So all right, man. So like you said, you kind of mentioned, you got into politics. So I want to get into that first.
Yes.
You ran for mayor. You were a mayoral candidate. And you, in the synopsis of your book, you mentioned that you got to see the dirty side of politics. I know for me and the listener, I can't speak for listeners, but for me, I know politics are dirty. They're nasty there,
right.
But I there's still a veil there that I don't see behind the curtain. A lot of our listeners have not seen behind the curtain. So is there anything like, what can you like tell listeners, like when you say dirty side of politics, what type of things did you have to like experience and kind of go through?
Right. So when I talk about that, I'm talking about, stuff you probably see on the movies. That's what I always thought about. I was like, man, this could never happen. This is what you see like on something on TV, or the documentaries and whatnot. And what I'm saying about that is there's like a lot of, I guess you could say, sabotaging, backstabbing from there. Sometimes in your own party, because there's some, hidden agendas that they have for themselves. Also, they want to kind of maybe branch out later, or they want to push some other narratives and whatnot. So even in a small local race, it still happens and exists. For me, it was kind of, I actually ran twice. I ran in 2018 in District 5, and I was endorsed by the Car Times. Then I was the youngest candidate to be endorsed, which was a huge accomplishment for me. I was 100% grassroots when I did that. And we had,
awesome.
we had some of that stuff happen even in that small campaign. Some dirty stuff going on. I don't want to give it all away because I'm trying to sell the book here. Let's get the listeners to go get the book. But yes, there's some stuff that even happened in that small campaign. And for it to happen a second time in the larger race, like we mentioned, the mayoral race, I was like, well, I guess it's just part of it. Just sometimes it's even people that you just really don't even expect, that would, do anything or be a part of anything kind of shady, and it kind of just happens. Personal info get leaked out to another campaign, stuff like that. And we can go on, into more details and more stuff, but I don't think we have enough time for that.
Yeah, and we want everyone to read the book. So,
Exactly.
and I myself is also, I'm getting the just so you guys know, it is available on Amazon. The ebook is there, Kindle version. Also, I saw you had played a TikTok a while back when the book was, you were first announcing it, the paperback was coming. I did see the paperback's now available on Amazon as well.
Yes, it
and
is.
so just for the listeners to know that, definitely want to I definitely am interested, because I'm like, damn, I wonder, like, that's some like Shonda Rhimes, like Olivia Pope type of stuff going on, like.
And I'm telling you, and I didn't, of course, for legal reasons, legalities, I didn't name certain names and whatnot. I kind of leave breadcrumbs on like, hey, who do you think it was, or who do you think it might be? So
yeah, and so I'm going to circle back around to your book. I have a different question, but I want to keep going with just kind of with the synopsis of your book. You include quite a bit. Another thing that you reveal in the synopsis of your book alone is that you also talk about mental health issues, depression, anxiety. I appreciate that your openness with just even sharing it there, because I myself suffer from both, and just mental health issues in general. And I know lots of people do, especially with after this whole COVID situation.
Right.
A lot of people haven't experienced it before and now experiencing it. Now is those two things, depression and anxiety, are those things that you think were triggered by your entrance into the political world, or do you feel like it's something that you've always kind of struggled with?
I think it was triggered with, some of the stuff that I went through with my lawsuit, with the United States government. There's a lot of gaslighting, there's a lot of harassment, stuff of that nature. And it kind of started, that's where it kind of, I guess you could say, started, and a seed was planted there. I dealt with that all the way, my first race, when I talked about through 2018. That whole lawsuit series took about 3 years. So I dealt with it going even into politics. And probably, I'd say, even into the mayoral campaign, and it does take a toll on you. Somebody afterwards, after I got the results, I lost the last campaign. The next day I got a call from another political leader asking about running for something else. And I was just like, no, I need a break. This is, 2 campaigns back to back, haven't had a break. I just got off this other case also. Once again, just giving that reminder to everybody, you have to take care of your mental health first. That's a priority. And that's what I mentioned. Like, I got to take a break and refresh, regroup, spend time with just my daughter, Bailey, and just, kind of cherish just our time for a while.
Yeah. And again, I appreciate your openness with that. Like, a lot of people, especially in the Hispanic community, it's kind of like a taboo subject, unfortunately.
Yes.
And so I do appreciate you sharing that. And again, another reason why I look forward to reading and kind of going into your book more. And you mentioned briefly the lawsuit. So for the listeners, you actually represented yourself in, like you said, a whistleblower case against the United States government. Damn, man, that you have been through quite a bit, and I
went through some stuff, man.
like I want to circle back to all of this, saying like, this book is based on your actual life events, but just so you know, like, I don't know if you enjoyed the writing process or not. You could definitely turn this into like fiction. Like, you have so many stories here as an author. Like, I write fiction. You have a lot of fiction stories that you could tell.
We might have to link up after this and we'll start working on something, get a project going.
Yeah, for sure. So when this case against the United States government happened, obviously we're not going to go into details of it or anything, but what made you decide, like, you know what, I don't need a lawyer, I'm going to do this on my own? Like, how did you go about making that decision? Because anybody against the U.S. government is like, you know what I mean? That's a lot. So how did you come to that conclusion?
Well, it was a couple of things. The first thing was, obviously, nobody wanted to go against the government. Every lawyer that I called that was an employment law attorney did not want to do it. They always said, hey, this is a tough case. Chances are, you're going to lose. You're going against the government. They got enough resources, money, etc. They got the team, they got the time. So that was the first thing. So I really didn't have, a huge selection of attorneys to go to. When I did finally get an attorney to help me out and do some litigating for me, it was through the union, because I was the union president, at the time as well, for part of the government. And when I started noticing that, hey, I don't think she had the best interest for me, they wanted me to take, kind of like a plea deal of where no one did nothing wrong, but, we're going to just kind of sweep some of the rug and we'll give you a little bit of stuff just so it goes away. And I'm the type of person, I grew up on values like integrity, man. And so that's just something that I wasn't okay with, because I knew if this case didn't go anywhere or justice wasn't prevailed on my case, the stuff that happened to me, they're going to keep doing it to other people in this workplace. And I wasn't about that. I'm a leader, a community leader. Like I said, I was the, union leader. My job is to protect the employees from any type of harm or any type of toxic work environment. So at that point in time, I was like, you know what? You're fired. Let me go ahead and sign your waiver to release you. I'll do this on my own. Obviously, I got the passion and commitment to do this, and I'll find time somehow, to get it done. And we did. So I got to give a huge shout out though to and he's in this book. One of my best friends, his name's Mike Ganner. He's out in California. And for almost, I'd say good about 3 to 4 month period, when we started prepping to go to trial, me and him would just FaceTime every day and just get all the lawyer jargon. I didn't understand half that stuff. I'm not an attorney. So we would Google everything and just kind of decipher it. And then I would write my rebuttals back and, questions I had to and whatnot, submit my evidence. And yeah, it was a learning process, but I'm pretty grateful for it. If I could, handle anything like that, then I'm pretty sure I can handle anything else. So, and I'm hoping that I'm living proof that anybody can take on, anything that you think is impossible. As long as you put your mind and your heart towards it and a strong work ethic, then you'll be all right. You can do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a lot, man. That's heavy stuff. Like, going through this case, and then you're going through this case, and then you are, after, I believe you said that you ran for office, to do that, after going against the United States government, and again, being a single father. I mean, again, man, huge kudos to you. I respect you so much.
Thank you, man.
That is crazy. Would you say that all of this experience, do you think that it affected obviously it affected your personal life, but whenever, like you said earlier, the after you lost the second time, they asked you to kind of run for something else, and you kind of declined. You were like, no, I need to focus on myself. Prior to making that, did you start to see maybe a difference in yourself? Obviously you were suffering through mental health issues, but did you see a difference in yourself as being a father? Did you see it affecting your relationship with your daughter? Did you see that happening? Was that another factor that you'd say you're no, I can't let that happen? Or
I wouldn't say it affected the relationship with my daughter. In the book, she's 100% part of it. She was always with me, on both campaigns. People loved her. There's tons of commercials and ads of us out there. She was probably more popular than I was on the campaign majority of the time. So, she loved it, man. And there's a part in the book that I talk about on the first race in District 5 where we lost. And I was like, wow, man, we got a lot closer than I thought. I didn't really think I was even get that far because no one really knew me. And my daughter started crying. I talk about that in the book, and I asked her why, what was going on? Why are you crying? And it really affected her. She was really that much involved that, she was pretty devastated that we lost that first race. So, I would say apart from that, now just getting back into okay, let's just go to your soccer practice and then maybe a movie afterwards. We don't have to go block walking or campaigning, so it's a more comfortable, relaxed speed, I guess you could say.
That's cool. And so your book, what made you start saying, I need to start documenting this? Because like I said earlier, writing a book isn't easy. Writing anything isn't easy. Especially if you're like me, everything I write it down. I'm like, this is trash. I hate it. I can't, like, it makes sense up here, like in my head, but when I'm typing it out, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. So like, what made you say like, you know what, I'm gonna get all these stories and I'm gonna put them together? And how did you start that process?
Yeah, so it kind of started off like we were saying earlier. I want to focus on myself and focus on some passion projects that I've always had. I just didn't have time for it. I was giving my time to the community. For those last couple of years, I was in many different roles as a leader. I was the president of Sierra Club here. I was a board member for the Big Brothers Big Sisters organization, which I still am. I was a Nueces County delegate. I was, of course, running for 2 different campaigns. I was very involved in the community, and me and Bailey were always doing stuff here in the community. And I felt like, okay, if I could take the same amount of passion, the same amount of drive, and just put it into stuff that I want to do now, for me and Bailey, let's just make it happen. Put the same passion and same blood, sweat, equity in there. And that's when the first thing that popped up was like, I want to tell my story, just because, like you were saying, there's so much crazy stuff that happened that I want to share it with other people that might be going through similar situations and whatever that might be, or even, mental health situations where they're like, oh, you know what, if this guy, came out and talked about it, maybe I can talk about it, because for me, I didn't talk about it for a long time because, I'm a guy, and I always felt like, okay, if I talk about it, people are going to think I'm weak, or, they're going to think totally different of me. But I was like, it's normal. It happens to a lot of people. So, I think the more that we start talking about it, having conversations about it, I think the more that it's going to be, I guess, normalized, hopefully, for everybody. And so when I decided to write the book, it was mainly to help not only myself, because it felt like a therapeutic process, for me, just kind of going through this, the stuff that I lived and going through it again, revisiting that, and realizing, hey, I got through this, tough situations, these, hardships and whatnot, and was able to accomplish or, pass all that stuff. And like I said, I just kind of just start putting it together, just started writing it. Once again, I didn't know much about writing the book, so I just Googled everything and just kind of figured it out on the flow. The type of guy I am, if I want to do something, we're gonna get it done. So.
Yeah, that's cool. There's so much knowledge out there, like on the web. You know what I mean? Like, I literally taught myself how to podcast, how to make
Hell yeah.
videos, edit videos. Taught myself how to. I don't design my book covers, but I did. I hired someone for that. But I did teach myself recently how to like format my books, and you know what I mean. Like, there's so much. So like, it just shows you like the drive in someone when you're willing to like, you know what, I have this idea and I want to go through with it. You know what I
Right.
mean? So,
I will say this. For the book cover, I did have some, like you said, I did have somebody design it. And what I used was, have you heard of Fiverr?
oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah. For anybody that's listening out there, if you have any creative projects or endeavors that you want to work on, this is an awesome community, man, of creators that are just out there. They're so helpful. And, and that's who I use, for this book cover. Huge shout out to Fiverr for sure.
Yeah, cool. That's a bunch of, like you said, for people that don't know, it's a website that's a bunch of freelancers. So you can get almost anything done there. Graphic
Mm-hmm.
designs, audio work, editing, producing, anything pretty much. Freelancers are on that website. So you're definitely helping like the kind of independent contracting community. So
That's right.
and so that's a really good website. I do use that quite a bit, especially for podcasting. So yeah, that's cool, man. Before we wrap, is there anything that you'd like everyone, our listeners, to know specifically about your book that maybe we haven't covered? Kind of give them another reason to go out and get it.
Just kind of like what I've been trying to push out there and put out there since the very beginning is, I hope that this book helps anybody, maybe inspire somebody to follow their dreams, or, maybe talk about, mental health issues or whatever type of issues they might have, or, something they need help with. That's what I wrote it for, man. It was to help people, and that's the main point of this book. And that's what I'm pushing. This story is about 3 years, what happened to me just in those 3 short years, and what I was able to accomplish. There's a lot of, hard stuff that happened, but if I can do any of this stuff, I'm just a regular guy, normal guy. And if I could do that, anybody can do anything, so that's just what I want to throw out there. And I also want to say thank you again for having me. I really appreciate being on this show, man. It's probably one of my most favorite interviews so far, I have to admit. Very chill.
Awesome.
I like it.
Yeah.
I like the vibes,
So. Yeah, I was telling everyone I'm like the opposite of Oprah. Like I don't ask like hard-hitting questions. I just want to be chill. Like I'm just like whatever, man. Let's just have a conversation and get the word out there. You know what I mean? And so really for the listeners and for you, before this is going to be just for you guys listening, we're recording in the past for you guys. This is actually going to be for season 4 of the podcast, and up until now we've only been interviewing people locally in the Coastal Bend, and actually season 4 is the first time we're opening it up to all of Texas. And so we're doing Texas like content creators, entrepreneurs, small business owners, and so it's just been very successful, and I enjoy giving back to my community. This is my way to give back to my community and letting people shine and give platforms where other places may not give platforms to, small, unless you're a big person, like a big name somewhere, you know what I mean? And so that's what my podcast is for. So thank you for being here, and thank you for taking time out of your day. Man. One last thing, I say this every episode: where can everyone find you? Now is the time to plug everything and anything you want to plug. Plug away.
Well, all right. Well, I'm pretty much on every social media platform there is. But if you go to my Instagram, in the bio section, there's my link tree. My link tree has all the information of all my social media sites. That's Eric James 88. If you just look that up on Linktree, also their website, it has the link for the book, everything, past interviews that I did on the Mayoral campaign, and just short bio also on one of my national endorsements that I got for the Mayoral campaign, and that kind of gives like a rundown of my whole background as well. And once again, I think y'all will love this book, and the story and the journey. Poise Under Pressure, self-published. Just like we talked about earlier, there's a lot of, passion and hard work that went into this book, and I really believe in it. And you can check it out on Amazon.com.
Yeah, for sure. So for those of you listening, or watching, because this will be on YouTube, I will have the links to his link tree and to the Amazon for his book in the show notes. So all you'll have to do is click, and it will take you directly to his information. And so we'll have that there. Again, Eric, thank you so much for being here. Thank you, for everyone listening, thank you so much for listening to another episode of The Local Influencers. Go out there and make a positive change in whatever community that you live in.
That's right.
Have a good day.
Have a good one.